Under a minute left in the game, the Knights need a miracle stop. The ball is snapped, and while one player just lines up for the tackle, Jake Tyler crashes into his opponent with the force of a freight train. The Hornets coach is desperate. His team needs an intervention. That's Jake's 13th tackle of the night. He gets up, soaking it in, which openly pisses off player number 32. The next play, the ball flies toward Moore. The pass is high, but he catches it on the run, only for his celebration to last a split second. Jake takes him down hard. That might have been the Hornets' last chance. If you can't win on the field, hit where it hurts. The opponent brings up Jake's dad. That's the last straw. Jake launches himself at the player again, but this is no longer a game. This is pure rage. He demolishes Moore than anyone else who dares to get in his way. Chaos erupts on the field, leaving the referee powerless. By the time he's in the locker room, the bruises on his face are a map of his self-destruction. This isn't just a fight. It's a pattern. And it's the reason his family is moving again. Orlando is meant to be a fresh start, a desperate attempt to outrun the trouble that always seems to find him. Back home, the tension with his mom is thick enough to cut with a knife. She doesn't see a star athlete, she sees a trouble magnet spiraling out of control. In the garage, while packing with his younger brother Charlie, Jake tries to pretend he's fine with the move, even though it's for Charlie's promising tennis career. But when a box of his dad's old things tips over, the facade cracks. He picks up a photo, and the memories flood back not with warmth, but with a cold, familiar ache. He scrawls the word junk across the box, less a description of its contents and more a verdict on his own past. At his new high school, Jake tries to be invisible, a ghost in the hallways of Orlando. But trouble has a way of finding him. When he sees a guy getting beaten by a group of others, his old instincts kick in. He steps in to play the hero, only for the victim to turn and land a clean shot on his face, as if to say, mind your own business. The message is clear. He's an outsider here too. A brief, fragile moment of normalcy comes in class, when he meets a beautiful girl named Baha. For a minute, the conversation is easy, flirty, a glimpse of the life he could have. But back home, that hope evaporates under the weight of his own sarcasm during a tense family dinner. His mom fires back, reminding him he's the reason they can never stay in one place for long. The next day, the past follows him onto his phone. The guy he tried to help, Max, cheerily informs him that the video of his last football brawl has gone viral. Whispers follow Jake through the school. He's not a person anymore. He's a reputation, a walking spectacle of violence. He hates it. He just wants to disappear. But that evening, Baha calls out to him from a car, teasingly slipping him an address to a party. It's another spark of hope, a reason to try to be normal, just for one night. He arrives at a massive house party, a world away from anything he knows. He finds Max, who is already documenting the chaos with his camcorder. But the real master of this universe is Ryan, Baha's boyfriend, who carries himself with the cold, predatory confidence of an apex predator. Ryan leads Jake to a balcony, not to show him the view, but to reveal the dark heart of Orlando's social scene. Below, a brutal, unsanctioned fight is underway. It's a raw, chaotic art form, and Jake can't look away. Then, the focus shifts. Baha arrives, and Ryan, seeing the flicker of interest between her and Jake, decides to make a point. He strips off his shirt, revealing a perfectly sculpted fighter's physique, and challenges Jake to a fight. The crowd, already buzzing from the viral video, roars in approval, but Jake refuses. He didn't come here to fight. He came here to escape the fight within himself. Every instinct screams at him to stay calm, to keep the demon locked away, as in from 40. But Ryan is a master manipulator. He sees Jake glance at Baha, and in that split second, he strikes. Not with his fists, but with a calculated act of psychological warfare. He walks over and kisses her, a public display of ownership designed purely to provoke. It works. The fragile control Jake was holding onto shatters. He turns to leave, but the exit is blocked. Ryan isn't done with him. He needs to break him completely. He goes for the jugular, bringing up the tragic death of Jake's father, the one wound that never healed. He twists the knife, reminding Jake that he was in the car, helpless. That's it. The demon is unleashed. Jake lunges, but Ryan just grins. He's won. He got the fight he wanted. The first punch is pure, uncontrolled rage. Jake swings wildly, connecting with a clean shot to Ryan's face that barely phases the champion. Jake fights like a cornered animal fueled by chaos. Ryan, in contrast, moves with the cold, arrogant precision of a surgeon. He dodges, he parries, and then, with a contemptuous ease, he dismantles Jake piece by piece. He twists Jake's arm, flips him to the ground, and lands a solid punch, stepping back to let the crowd admire his work. Every missed punch from Jake, every successful counter from Ryan isn't just a physical blow, it's a public humiliation. A cheap shot with a soda cup gives Jake a momentary opening, but it's a desperate move and Ryan punishes him for it. He attacks Jake's legs with brutal, crippling kicks, then drives him to the floor. The sting of public failure gets Jake back on his feet, but his body is already failing him. Ryan counters a clumsy hook, tosses him to the ground again, and lands a vicious kick to the jaw that knocks him flat. For a moment, Jake is out cold. Ryan soaks in the applause, the king of his brutal kingdom. Max keeps his camera rolling, capturing every agonizing second. But something inside Jake refuses to stay down. Woozy and battered, he staggers to his feet, fueled by a self-destructive pride. Max pleads with him to let it go, but Jake can't. To quit now would be to admit that he is as weak as he feels. Ryan charges again, and this time, the end is swift. A final devastating spinning kick connects with Jake's face, and the world goes black. He wakes the next morning, his face a swollen purple ruin. The physical pain is nothing compared to the shame. At school, he's no longer the new kid. He's the joke, the star of a viral video showcasing his own destruction. Baha, disgusted by Ryan's cruelty, can't even stand to hear about it. Back at home, nursing his wounds, Jake's eyes fall on the box of his dad's things. The box he labeled junk. In a flash of fury and self-loathing, he hurls it across the room, the impact sending a searing pain through his already bruised ribs. He collapses, overwhelmed by the one truth he can't escape. He's a fighter who can't win the only battles that matter. Later, a knock at the door. It's Max, but he hasn't come to console him. He's come with an offer. He sees the fire behind Jake's failure, the raw, untamed potential. He doesn't see a loser. He sees a weapon that just needs to be aimed. And Max holds out a CD, a gateway to another world, filled with training clips of a man named Roqua. Jake, stewing in his own shame, shuts him down. He doesn't want help. He wants to be left alone. But Max leaves the CD behind, a silent invitation. The next day, Jake finds the gym. It's not a flashy fitness center. It's a Spartan, unforgiving temple of pain. In the center is Roqua, effortlessly demonstrating a throw, his every move a lesson in controlled violence. Max introduces them. Roqua takes one look at Jake's bruised, swollen face and dismisses him. He's seen this type before, all anger, no discipline. But Jake's raw determination earns him a reluctant spot in the beginner's class. Jake, arrogant and impatient, insists he's a quick learner. Roqua just smirks. Show me. What follows is not training. It's a baptism by fire. The warm-up circuit is a brutal, fast-paced assault on Jake's limits designed to shatter his ego. He struggles to keep up, his lungs burning, his muscles screaming. Then comes the sparring. Jake sizes up his opponent, a smaller, leaner fighter, and assumes an easy win. He couldn't be more wrong. Before he can even react, he's flipped to the ground, his arm locked in a painful submission. Roqua's voice cuts through the haze of pain. Tap! Pride forces Jake to resist, but the pressure is unbearable. He taps. Humiliation again. In the next round, Jake is caught in a rear naked choke. Max urges him to surrender, but this time, something in Jake snaps. He refuses to tap. He would rather pass out than admit defeat again. And he does. He wakes up to Roqua's concerned face looking down at him. The master is impressed by his grit, but warns him that recklessness is not strength. Before Jake leaves, Roqua lays down the one unbreakable rule: no fighting outside the gym. Break it and you're out. Forever. Later that evening, Baja shows up at his door, her eyes filled with remorse. She tries to explain, to apologize for her role in the party, admitting she clung to her popular status because for once, she felt like she fit in. But Jake is a fortress of cold anger. He doesn't see a remorseful girl. He sees an accomplice to his own humiliation. He listens, unmoved, and she eventually walks away, leaving him alone with his rage. The next day, Jake arrives at the gym an hour early. He hands Roqua 2 months' payment up front, as if trying to buy his way to respect. Roqua takes the money without a word and points him to the heavy bag. Jake begins to train, but his movements are clumsy, his breathing ragged. Roqua steps in, his voice calm but firm. He points out the fundamental flaw. Jake fights with his anger, not his breath. He is a storm without a center. And section, Roqua demonstrates the combo on the heavy bag. Each strike is perfectly timed with his breath, his movements fluid and devastatingly powerful. The bag slides effortlessly across the rack. When Jake tries, he's just a flailing mess of anger and strained muscles. The bag barely moves. Roqua doesn't raise his voice. He simply tells him, every fighter has his own rhythm. You have to find yours. Days turn into weeks. The gym becomes Jake's sanctuary. Slowly, the chaotic rage begins to transform into focused discipline. His movements become more fluid, his strikes more precise. He's no longer just mimicking, he's learning. He earns the quiet respect of his classmates, and even a rare, approving nod from Roqua. But this new life comes at a cost. His mom finds his gym bag, the missing money, the new bruises. She doesn't yell. Her weary disappointment is far worse. She tells him it has to stop, but Jake knows he can't. The tension spills over. In class, Jake's cold fury towards Baja is a wall of ice. Frustrated by his rejection, she confronts Ryan, telling him the fight at the party was unfair. Ryan's fragile ego cracks. He unleashes a torrent of verbal abuse, reminding her that her entire social status is a gift from him. In that moment, she sees him for what he is, a pathetic, insecure bully. She walks away, not just from the conversation, but from him, for good. Jake takes his own bottled-up rage to the gym. Every punch on the bag is a blow against his father's death, against Ryan's arrogance, against his own weakness. Roqua sees the raw, uncontrolled power and steps in to spar. But Jake is a live wire, his anger making him reckless. Roqua, seeing that the lesson won't be learned today, tells him to leave. Jake storms out, but the rage follows him. In the car with Max, a blaring horn from another driver is all it takes to light the fuse. Jake gets out and unravels, unleashing a brutal, one-sided beatdown on the unsuspecting driver. It's ugly, it's fast, and it's all caught on camera. Within hours, the video goes viral. Jake isn't just the kid who got destroyed by Ryan anymore. Now, he's a monster. At a lakeside party, whispers follow him like a shadow. People have seen the new video. Baja approaches, her eyes soft with a concern that he no longer feels he deserves. He keeps his distance, his tone flat. He can't let her in. Ryan watches from afar, a smug grin on his face. He corners Jake later, not to fight, but to assert his dominance, to remind him who still owns this town. Fed up, Jake tries to leave, but Max won't let it go. He sees the monster, but he also sees the warrior. He keeps pushing, finally forcing Jake to ask the question he's been avoiding. What is the beatdown? Ages. Max takes him to his place and pulls up the footage. It's not just a fight club, it's an institution. The Beatdown. A brutal, invitation-only tournament that is the Super Bowl of Orlando's underground circuit. It's where legends are made and egos are shattered. For the first time, Jake sees a path, a way to channel his rage into something more than random acts of violence. But when Roqua sees the new bruises from the street fight, he doesn't ask questions. He just points to the door. Get out. The rule was absolute. After Jake is gone, Roqua turns and drives a single thunderous punch into the heavy bag. At home, things are even worse. Jake's mom sees a black eye on his younger brother Charlie and assumes the worst. Her voice cracks with exhaustion. "I'm tired of fixing what you break," she tells Jake. The accusation hangs in the air, heavier than any punch. Jake's return to the gym is met with a locked door. Roqua isn't just his trainer. He's the gatekeeper to the only place Jake feels sane, and the gate is closed. But Jake doesn't leave. He waits. For hours. He finally confronts Roqua at a grocery store, laying his soul bare. He confesses that the gym is the only thing that silences the storm inside him, the only thing that keeps the demon at bay. Roqua listens, seeing the desperation in the boy's eyes, and finally, he relents. He lets him back in. The training that follows is transformative. Roqua pushes Jake past every conceivable limit, compressing a year's worth of training into a matter of days. This is no longer just about fighting. It's about rebuilding a man from the inside out. During a run on the beach, a friendship begins to form. Jake asks why Roqua lives in the gym, and the master finally reveals his own ghost. He had a younger brother, Joseph, his father's favorite. After his brother was killed, the grief shattered his family and drove him into this self-imposed exile. In that moment, Roqua saw in Jake not just another fighter, but a reflection of his own pain, a young man consumed by a loss he couldn't control. The lessons change. They are no longer just for the body, but for the soul. Jake starts to heal. He shows up at Charlie's tennis match, mends the broken bridge with his mom, and finds the courage to apologize to Baja. He owns his actions, and in that moment of accountability, she sees the man he is becoming. They share a kiss, not of passion, but of understanding. His mom, seeing the profound change in her son, visits Roqua. She thanks him, confessing her fear that Jake is still punishing himself for his father's death. Roqua assures her the boy is on the right path. As his life finds a new balance, Jake makes a decision. He tells Max he's not fighting in the beatdown. His battle isn't with Ryan anymore. It was with himself, and he's starting to win. He doesn't need to feed Ryan's ego. But Ryan is not the kind of predator that lets his prey escape. When news breaks that Jake is out of the fight, his blood boils. That night, he invites Max over under the pretense of making peace. It's a trap. The night ends with Max bloodied and broken, dumped on Jake's doorstep, a calculated, cowardly message. Baja pleads with Jake not to take the bait, but it's too late. The fight was never over. Ryan just made it personal. And Docker. On the ground lies Max, barely conscious, his face a testament to Ryan's cowardice. The rage that Jake had fought so hard to control ignites into a white-hot inferno. Baja pleads with him, but her voice is a distant echo. As he storms out, a figure blocks his path. Roqua. His mentor's voice is calm, but the ultimatum is absolute. Break the rule again, and you are done here. For a moment, Jake is trapped between his loyalty to his friend and his respect for his master. The conversation that follows is not between a coach and a fighter, but between two men haunted by their pasts. Roqua finally admits the truth that has imprisoned him for years. If he could go back, he would have been there for his brother. He would have changed everything. In that raw confession, Jake understands. Roqua doesn't stop him. He simply leaves him with one final lesson. Control the outcome. It's on you. Jake rushes home. His mom sees the look in his eyes and doesn't try to stop him. Some fights, a man has to finish himself. He arrives at the beatdown, adrenaline coursing through his veins. This is no longer just a tournament, it's a crucible. When he steps into the ring, the crowd meets him with a chorus of boos. Ryan, the hometown king, enters to a deafening roar. But fate intervenes. The announcer declares a last-minute change. It's a tournament format. They won't face each other in the first round. They'll have to earn their collision course. The matches begin. Ryan moves through his opponents with a cold, surgical brutality. Jake, in contrast, fights with a newfound calm. his movements precise and controlled. He's not fighting with rage anymore, he's fighting with purpose. But in the quarterfinals, he takes a vicious kick to the ribs. The pain is a searing fire, a clear weakness. Ryan sees it from across the room and files it away for later. Backstage, Baja finds him, clutching his side. Her quiet words of support and a gentle kiss are a better painkiller than any ice pack. Meanwhile, Ryan's arrogance becomes his downfall. He deliberately jabs an opponent in the eye, a dirty, cowardly move. The referee doesn't hesitate. He's disqualified. When Jake hears the news, he immediately steps down from his semifinal match. The crowd, the trophy, the title, none of it matters. If he can't face Ryan, this whole night is meaningless. As he walks out of the venue, a figure is waiting for him in the shadows. Ryan. No words are needed. The challenge is accepted. The crowd, hungry for the real main event, follows them into the parking lot. The final showdown begins. Ryan is a predator, immediately targeting Jake's injured ribs with brutal, punishing kicks. The pain is agonizing, but Jake endures. He remembers Roqua's words. He controls the outcome. Even when Ryan locks him in a chokehold, squeezing the life out of him, Jake refuses to tap. The crowd screams, Baja watches in terror, but Jake holds on. Then, something shifts. Jake closes his eyes and draws from everything the grief over his father, the guilt, the pain, the discipline. He channels it all into a single, explosive burst of raw strength. He breaks free. The tide turns in an instant. He unleashes a furious combination of strikes, each one precise, powerful, and clean. He ends it with a devastating kick that sends Ryan crashing to the pavement, unconscious before he hits the ground. The fight ends not with a roar, but in stunned silence. There is no gloating, no celebration. Jake simply stands over his defeated opponent, calm and composed. Later, Roqua finally leaves his self-imposed exile to reconnect with his family. And Ryan, humbled and broken, finally begins to let go of the anger that had defined him for so long. The battle in the parking lot didn't just end a feud, it healed the wounds of 3 broken men.